Over the last 75 years, over 10,000 chemicals have been introduced to our food supply. Yet the EU only allows 300 food additives. But at Thrive Market, we bring our members the highest quality brands and restrict more than 1,000 ingredients found at conventional grocery stores, making the switches easy with our Healthy Swaps scanner, which finds better versions of all your favorite pantry, snacking, and home essentials without the added junk, dyes, and fillers. Plus, it's all delivered straight to your door. So if you're looking to shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health, go to thrivemarket.com/podcast and you'll get 30% off your first order and a free gift. Over the last 75 years, over 10,000 chemicals have been introduced to our food supply. Yet the EU only allows 300 food additives. But at Thrive Market, we bring our members the highest quality brands and restrict more than 1,000 ingredients found at conventional grocery stores, making the switches easy with our Healthy Swaps scanner, which finds better versions of all your favorite pantry, snacking, and home essentials without the added junk, dyes, and fillers. Plus, it's all delivered straight to your door. So if you're looking to shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health, go to thrivemarket.com/podcast and you'll get 30% off your first order and a free gift.
Well, hello, everyone. It's your girl, Gabrielle. Welcome to a brand new episode of Hot Topics. If you are new to the show, let me tell you what this show is about. This is the show, excuse me. This is the show where we like to put things out in the open. Like we like to talk about things that aren't really talked about. We like to bring awareness to things. This is the platform where we like to shine a spotlight on important topics. And especially now with this boom of videos and video communication and Zooming and streaming and all, this is the time of videos. Right? So because we are in such a more visual time, this is the time to put things out there for people to see in a visual manner. And that is what we do here at Hot Topics. This is not the place for celebrity gossip. This is the time for real talk, educational talk, informational talk. And this is the show to do it. So today's topic is mental health. Simply put, there's a lot of talk about mental health, and it's a very broad topic, and we are going to tackle this topic today. And especially, there's been a lot of talk about mental health in the past couple of years. I mean, depending on when you're watching this episode, let's say since 2020. And there's been a lot of talk, there's a lot more talk about mental health, I should say. And we're going to further that discussion. We're going to continue that discussion here today. And I have a guest with me who's going to help me out. She is actually a returning guest. She is returning to the fire. She's returning to the hot seat. Her name is Kellina Powell, and I can't wait to remind you about who she is. So let's get right to it. Who is Kellina Powell? Let me tell you who she is. So Kellina is a young entrepreneur who loves to help people with their personal growth and educate others about the deaf community. Little do people know, Kellina is actually a hard of hearing person. She became deaf at the age of 4. She recently graduated with a psychology degree and is now starting her own online coaching business while finishing working on her book. That is awesome. All right, so let's bring Kalina to the stage right now.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for welcoming me back to the show. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so we're going to tackle the broad topic that is mental health, and I want to hear your perspective on it. So, you're ready to tackle this topic?
Of course, I'm always here. I'm always ready.
All right, let's do it. I'm going to pass the baton over to you, and I'm going to just have you get talking.
Definitely. So let's talk about mental health. Mental health is just a few things that not everybody spoke about, right? And me being deaf, there's not that much mental health that talked about being in depth in the deaf community. And not just the deaf community but also in the disability community. It's unfortunate that we don't really talk about it in my community, but also just to help myself too, because I did have challenges when I was growing up, because I actually developed anxiety, because I used to be so scared to talk to people who is hearing, and I thought it would just, fear, right? But then it would just like keep consistent since I was like 4 to like when I was in high school. It was just kind of weird. And my confidence was really, really low. Like I didn't know how to build a confidence, how to speak to people. And that's why I'm so passionate about mental health, because I had to be in the box, be in the dark, because I didn't want to upset other people or carry the baggage onto the next person. I did want it to be independent, teach myself how to be independent. So it's very hard. And that's why I love this topic, because I do want to encourage people to speak up, ask for help when they need to. And I want people to know it's okay not to be okay. And mental health is not something that people do feel comfortable talking about. Like myself, I really never like talking about it because I would get embarrassed. And I want people to know that it's okay not to be okay.
And that's very important. It's okay not to be okay. And I'm glad you said that. I think that's very important for people to know. So let's dive right into it. What is it about mental health that is so difficult to talk about?
I would say fear of judgment. That's one. Fear of judgment. I feel like the generation that we live in, everybody has opinions to say, and people don't know how to not just take it in, but know how to brush it off. And it's lack of education. I feel like mental health is not taught in schools, and that's where we learn the tools. It's actually being in school. Do the teacher teach us about mental health? I had no idea about mental health until I got to university. I just like, why are we not talking about this topic? Why is it not included in the younger generation? Because it's super important for the younger generation to understand what is going on with themselves, right? And because I feel like the younger generation, they're just down with themselves. And I'm like, no, like, how would you know, right? And that's why it's super important, because who knows? They may be down with something that is completely wrong, and then they go to a therapist or a psychiatrist. It's a whole different thing, right? And I feel like, and also too, because of my story and not being able to have a therapist or counselor, I was I was kind of stuck in a sense of way. So that's why I'm super passionate about the mental health.
So can we define it? Let's get a definition. So what is mental health?
For me, what is mental health? It's something that you are not aware of. It's something that you have to learn how to overcome. It takes years and time. Mental health is anything, I tell people. It's not just one specific thing. And I feel like a lot of people misunderstand what mental health is. They feel like it's just one specific diagnosis, where it's multiple things all at once. Many people can be diagnosed with two things. And And mental health is something for me as a specific diagnosed or psychological thinking, and it really have to do has not just with your neuro, but also to have to do with trauma. Some people may have traumas due to that made them cause to have mental health in the future. So that is my definition of mental health.
Awesome, awesome. I'm also going to share this definition. I'm just going to give me a moment while I pull up the screen here. So I'm going to pull up this website called mentalhealth.gov. I just wanted to share this definition here when we talk about what is mental health. I'm just going to read this here. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence through adulthood. Over the course of your life, if you experience mental health problems, your thinking, mood, and behavior could be affected. Many factors contribute to mental health problems, including biological factors such as genes or brain chemistry, life experiences such as trauma or abuse, and family history of mental health problems. Mental health problems are common, but help is available. People with mental health problems can get better and recover completely. So let's go back to my single screen here. All right. So what did you think of that definition?
Definition completely true. It does affect our psychological, and stress, trauma, abuse, and it really does come from childhood a lot of times. So I completely agree with that.
Cool. All right, so let's what are some examples of mental health problems that maybe that people may experience that they may not realize is a mental health problem?
Pass it on to the children. That's the number one. I feel like people think, yeah, I'm getting the help. I'm not going to pass it on to my children, but little do they know they are impacting the relationship. They are passing it down, and it's hard to break the cycle. It's not easy. I know how the parents who don't want to pass on to a kid, but your kids can see it. You can't hide anything from your children. So I think that's one of the most common I see a lot. Yeah.
Well, I mean, passing what down? Let's
The
talk about yeah, what is an example of a mental health issue?
The mental health issue is childhood, so all come from the childhood. So an example could be, you know, um, anger. Talking to your partner, angry, aggressive, but you learned that from your parents, right? The way your parents communicate with your father is by yelling like, "Hey, da da," da," and then pass on to you. You see that, you do the same thing. But sometimes when you have your own kids, you do it to your kids, and you don't realize that's affecting. Sometimes people don't realize that little things. And I tell people little things matter, not the bigger thing. And I feel like people always think about the bigger picture instead of the small thing. So that's my example.
Okay. I would also add to that. I mean, it's okay to feel angry, but I think it becomes a mental health issue when um, you find yourself angry like 80% of the time or 90% of the time. Um, you find yourself angry and you don't really know why that you're angry, or even like the smallest things can make you snap, right? Um, so I think I do want to distinguish like there is um, in terms of emotions and how to process emotions. There's like a emotional threshold, so to speak, and then it's okay when it goes above the threshold. So there's like anger, for example. There's like safe anger, and then there's unsafe anger. Like there is a fine there's a line that you cross, pretty much. So what what do you think of what I just said?
I agree completely. I agree. I mean, there's unsafe and not safe anger. It's true. A lot of time, people, I guess, everybody reacting different, right? Everybody expect um their partner to react differently, where they wanted them to regress this way or react this way, and then this partner does not. And a lot of time too, like it's really about communication. And I feel like a lot of time people have different expectation of other people, and they don't realize that sometimes like not everybody is the same, and sometimes they think of the past relationship or the past toxic relationship or the parents or the way they grew up, they see people that sense of way. So,
You were talking about things that we pass on to our children. So let me ask you this: can children learn? Can they learn? How do I want to phrase it? Can children pick up mental health issues from their parents? Can they learn negative behaviors from them?
oh yeah, definitely. It's really on parenting style. That's the number one thing. And a lot of parents, like, sorry, a lot of child, it does take time for them to pick it up, um, but they won't realize until they get into the teenagers, and they don't realize their behavior is like their parents. Like for example, if your parents were very negative towards them, or the parenting style was different from the other kids, and that's a lot of times that's when they realize when they're in the school environment, they see things different. They're like, wait, I'm confused. My parents did this. My parents did that, and so they can. There are chances of a child change the way their behavior is in certain environment. And like for example, myself, I can be really different in certain environment, but how I am with my parents. Right. And sometimes too I'd be like, I don't want to be like my parents, or certain things they do, I don't want to be like them. But I know some people take them years to realize that they don't like the way they react and don't like the behavior because of the parent. So it does take time for child to discover their behavior, but it's very easy for a child to pick it up. But also too, I know a lot of people like parents, um, they do spend a lot of time with the kids, but they put the kids in daycare. So it really depends on the environment of where the child is.
So you were talking about parenting styles. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, definitely. There's so many different parenting style. Um, you know, um, I know people do discipline, consequences, and reward parenting style. I know parenting style. I feel like it's just a big little. It's in the middle. Some people talk about, it, some people don't talk about it. But parenting style is definitely a big major thing that a lot of parents need to be aware of, especially the way this generation is going. I know a lot of parents are not so open-minded and having an open discussion with their child. I know a lot of child that don't feel comfortable speaking to their parents about this topic because they feel like their parents won't understand where they come from. So, so it's very important if a parent want to make a good impact on the child, they should be open-minded. So that is my idea of parenting style that can affect the child.
So when you say kids may not be comfortable talking to parents about certain things like what? What is something that a child may not be comfortable talking to their parents about?
They could their mental health. They may feel like their parents be like, "Oh, relax, you're just a kid." I hear that a lot. And the second thing is um, puberty, right? I know some may not feel comfortable. Some of them don't want to tell the parents that they got their period because their parents gonna assume that they're gonna have babies or have inappropriate conversation with them. I know a lot of child do that. And lastly, not every child wants to talk about sexuality, right? Not a lot of child feel comfortable coming out or even talk about, they're confused about their identity and how to identify themselves. So,
That's, you bring up an interesting point there about I also think there are um, generational conflicts in that um, a 14-year-old may feel a 14-year-old can be stressed out, and a 40-year-old may see that as, oh, you don't know stress. It's happened to me. I think it happened to me maybe like 10 years ago. I think I was like 24, and I posted on my Facebook page, like my Facebook post, like, oh, I'm so stressed out. And I think a 60-year-old that happened to follow me was like, she saw my post and she's like, you don't know stress. I'm stressed. So I think there's a generational conflict in that the stresses of youth are minimized, are swept under the rug. They are seen as not important, not serious. Um, they're belittled, made very small by older generations because they feel that because they're older, oh, they're more stressed out than them, and that there's the idea that, oh, you're young, you don't know what stress is, you don't know what life is, you don't know what suffering is, you're young. And we there's a generational clash. And I think to your point, I think that when it comes to the older generations, we should understand that young people are stressed too, and maybe their stress may not be your stress, but it's still stress, and it's still worried, and it's still a worry for them.
It is true, and I feel like too. I love how you brought up the Facebook comments. I feel like this generation they try to act older than they are, and I always keep telling them like it's okay to stress out, but don't compare yourself to older generation just because you're older. Like for example, myself, I'm not going to compare to myself to a 30-year-old who have more things in place than I do. I'm not going to do that. Why am I going to stress myself anymore, right? And a lot of people, especially the generation is so different. People don't understand, especially the older generation. They they try their best to be open minded, but they have their own belief and value. Sometimes it's harder for a child to be open up to them about different things. And but yeah, that Facebook comment is so relatable.
Yeah, so definitely, and I think no matter how old we are, I think we should always be open minded. Like me being 34, I have my niece who's 9 years old, my nephew who's 11, and if they seeing oh if they someone broke a toy and they start crying, you know if I say, oh, stop crying, life is hard, life sucks, deal with it. You're not I am not acknowledging their emotions. I'm not acknowledging their pain. And I not that I've done this, but I'm just saying hypothetically, um they are, I have to acknowledge as the older person that they are sad, they are angry, something that they love is broken. And for me to say, like, suck it up, grow up, things, your toys are replaceable, it's not that serious, but to put myself in their shoes and say, hey, they don't know that these things are replaceable, they don't know about, or I could always, it can be purchased at a store. Like, they just see this thing, that they love. So I think I'm just gonna put it out there. It's hot topics. I find that us as older people, we need to remember that we used to be young too, and that it's not always about us. And we do need to put ourselves in the shoes of these young people and realize that their stresses are um, respective to their age, So just because, an 11-year-old is not paying bills and they don't have to go through hip surgery and just because, they may not be suffering from back pain, but oh, I my toy is broken and now I'm sad. They are sad. Let's address that.
I totally agree. I feel like sometimes if we don't allow kids to be kids, how they expect to be themselves when they get older, especially with expressing. I feel like a lot of parents get upset when they get older and like, oh, my child doesn't respect me. Well, you never respect them when they're a baby. When you just told them, stick it up, be, I feel like they don't understand when you're so angry at them, especially at a young age. You're basically showing them the kids already know, like, you're kind of just destroying their image. Like, you're not acknowledging how they feel. So when they get older, they see like, okay, my parents told me to step it up, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna get all rough, top, and sometimes they don't realize that they're disrespecting you, but because you keep telling them, or not just keep telling them, but you just even if that one scene that happened one time, they're gonna think consistently like, oh, I have to step it up. Like, oh my god, I can't cry because my mom already said this or my dad already said that. So that's another issue nowadays with this generation. I feel like they want to earn respect from their parents. They want to earn respect from their parents, but sometimes parents can't respect them for their feelings. And I know it happens to a lot of times too, especially young adults nowadays. Young adults don't always respect their parents because they say, "Oh, my parents were so rude to me when I was younger, so why should I respect them now? I'm an adult or a young adult." And so that is a lot of time, respect is really big thing now, especially when your child gets older and you're trying to have a relationship with your child. Especially you want to be there as much for them, but you have to remember it really starts from when they're a child and for them not to be open up to you.
And that's a good point. And I think that also leads to childhood trauma in that if you're a young adult and you don't respect your parents, it's because, you know, what ha- what did your parents do that made you not respect them as a young adult? And what happened that made you hang on to this anger for so long? And so kind of bringing it back to the mental health, it's, you have this angry young adult who is distancing themselves from a support system. Why is that? Like those are red flags. And I think that also can be signs of a childhood trauma.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It really does. It really does. And I feel like sometimes parents just need to be careful how they're gonna parent the child. And I feel like sometimes parents don't really think about it, and sometimes parents just snap. We do have our days, right? But I do want parents to know if you do snap to your child, I do really want you to go back to your child and be like, I am so sorry that I snapped at you. How did it make you feel? To kind of show how to communicate with your child with your feelings and their feelings. So that way, when they get older, they can acknowledge their feelings with other people and you, especially when they get older, the more respect they have for you and for their own feelings.
Absolutely. And, there's nothing wrong with humbling yourself in that, hey, even saying as a parent, like, I was wrong, I messed up, I shouldn't have done this, let me make this right. And even being a listening ear for the child and say, hey, tell me what I did wrong. I think to the child, it may look like, oh, she's really, my mom, my dad is taking the time to listen to me. So I think, um, not just parents, but just like any adult figure as well. Like there's nothing wrong with, you know, ac- acknowledging that you as the older person can be wrong. And I think there's this mentality of the older person is always right, or when we say those sayings like, "Oh, mom is always right," or we assume that the older brother or the older sister is right. It's always right because they're older and therefore they have more life experience, and they have more life lessons to share because they went through so much. you know, I feel like we as the older folks, um, I mean, older in terms of comparing ourselves to like someone younger, this, we don't always know the answers. We don't always have the answer. And just because we're older doesn't mean that we're right all the time. So I think um, being open to different ideas from someone that is younger than us, being open to change, humbling ourselves, acknowledging when we're wrong, owning up to what we did, I think that can um, be a door to improving mental health.
I 100% agree. I feel like sometimes it's hard. I want people to know that it is hard to make a change. It really is, especially not just parents, but also older adults who have a child or even someone looking up to you. I don't always want you to think you're always right. I know a lot of younger generation. They'll be like, oh, but they did this and this. And I want people to understand not just older generation, but everyone in general. Not everybody advice you should always take it in. It does not mean they're always right. So just be really mindful who you get your advice from and who you are taking an opinion in. But like they always say, your parents will always be right. Sometimes they may not be right, sometimes they may not be. So
So what about things like, I want to make sure you're the one talking more. So what about like counseling and therapy and all those things? Is there such thing as being too young for therapy?
now, now, no, they're not that thing too young for therapy. I really hate that question. People always come to me like, Kalina, they're too young. Like, I'm like the child therapist, the child psychologist. That's why it's the child in the first part, right? So no kid is too young to get therapy.
You said that you hated the question. Tell me more about that.
So like I know every not everybody comes from a really great positive lifestyle environment, like not everybody comes from that. And I want people to know that if you feel like something is up, especially a child, even if you're a teacher, you're a doctor or anything like that, and you know something is up, you should always recommend speaking to the child, acknowledge their feelings, acknowledge what they're going on, and recommend them to a therapist, psychologist, or a counselor. And I feel like a lot of time people don't understand that the more you pick up quick on the kid's behavior very fast when they're young, you are more likely to save them from any negative behavior that's going to impact them when they get older. So I do want people to know that you should not be embarrassed when you bring up a child psychologist or child psychiatrist. They're the reason why they're going to school. It's because they're studying child development to within their career. So I do want people to really do trust the child psychologist, child counselor, child youth worker, or anything like that. But it's very important that we do keep in mind open based on the child's behavior to see what's going on because the child is basically our next generation. Do you not want the next generation to have an impact on the world?
Hmm. And I think you bring up another good point. I'm trying to remember what that point was. What was my point? Okay, I think I forgot my point. But I definitely with what was my point? I'm so sorry. I forgot my point. But um oh yes, I think I remember it now. So I think to kind of add to like the hesitation to sending the children to therapy, it could also be, I think it's also um, the fear that they think something is wrong with their child, and I think they see something, they some parents, I don't want to say all, some parents may see therapy as a sign of weakness, a sign of bad parenting, a sign of my child is broken, um, a sign of a sign of uh, something is not right, and they're afraid it's a reflection of themselves, or they may be afraid of the child being labeled as something. And I find that more so in um, communities of color, non-white communities. I also see that as well. So I was wondering if you can talk more about that.
Oh yeah, I agree with you definitely. It's a lot more common in the color of community. It's really common than the white community. It's unfortunate. I guess it's just the way we grew up, right? Our family, we are known to be tough color people, right? And all go back to slavery, really. And we always known to be strong. We carry a lot of things at our back. And sometimes it's really hard because you're being taught. A lot of times, not a lot of things are being broken in a cycle. They keep going, but they don't realize. They always, always humble themselves. They always want to do more and respect, but sometimes they don't realize that they really need to take care of themselves emotionally and physically. But a lot of time, emotionally, it's very draining because a lot of us don't understand the mental health, and I feel like we don't really study it enough. I think that's what the problem is, especially for a child and me myself. I grew up in a multicultural family. Both of my parents are mixed, actually, and I know. I remember I was studying something at school, and it said then that and it says like 80% of Black people more likely to experience mental health because their parents don't talk about it, less than the white community. It was just weird, and I was just like, really? And my mom always talk about it, and she always breaks the cycle in my family, always. We make sure that we talk about mental health, you know, um, anxiety, but because I actually ended up having anxiety when I was 4 years old because I became deaf. So that's when my mom knew, like, okay, like Kellina's shy a lot, but why? And then that's when, my doctor said maybe she doesn't feel comfortable. But then after my doctor said, okay, Kellina has anxiety. And that's what it is. And a lot of time when they find out what the diagnosis is, they don't talk about it. They just keep it to themselves instead of surround themselves with the right people that can help them get better. Because, like you mentioned, when people go to therapy to counselor, they think they're broken or they're embarrassed to talk about it. So yeah.
Um, you mentioned a couple times about anxiety. Let's talk about that a bit. What is anxiety?
Anxiety is something that you can't explain. It's the fear and your psychological thinking of it's like really like it's in your brain, and it's just something that come up very quick, and you just like wait, and you freeze for a second, and you don't realize why it's happening, and you can't prevent it from happening. And everybody can explain anxiety different ways. I know everybody explains it very different, but that's how I would explain it in the short form. I don't like to explain it so much, but it's something that you have no control. It's something that triggers in your brain. It's in your brain, and you have no control. You're like, wait, oh my God, it's happening. Your hands start to shake. You're out of breath. You can't see things. You're frozen. For me, I honestly have my hands shake a lot. I'm like, oh my God. Sometimes you have no control over it. So that's my definition of anxiety.
Oh, awesome. I will add into that, but well, not but I will add to that as well that anxiety is also a constant fear, a constant worry, a constant feeling of dread and hopelessness and misery. And again, I was talking earlier about like safe fear, like being looking both ways when you cross the street, right? That's technically anxiety because you don't want to get hit by a car, and so you're scared about being hit by a car and like being injured or dying. That's safe fear. And then there's the unsafe fear, which is, you're you're worried all the time about, being hit by a car like 24/7. You can't stop thinking about it. It keeps you up at night. The constant body shaking, like you were talking about, like it's constant. It's overpowering. It's constant. It just keeps going and going and going.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And some people, don't realize until like, oh my God, wait, something's wrong with me after. And I do want to tell people if you do notice that in your body, like, do some research, just really follow your gut. And I feel like a lot of people don't do that because they are afraid of the truth. So always do that.
And what is it? What is the truth?
The truth is believe in yourself that you need to find something out for yourself. And I feel like people are scared to find out the truth about themselves, especially when they find out they are having a specific diagnosis. They're like, no, I'm not diagnosed with this. No, I'm diagnosed with this. And then you're just, it's the truth. But I know a lot of people know the body more than anybody else. And I tell people, just always be open minded with your diagnosis. If you specific think that it's this one and not this one, just keep your mind open. Always talk to your doctor. Always, always, always. Your doctor is your best friend. I know a lot of people don't always have a great relationship with their doctors because they feel like the doctor treating them disrespectfully or not respecting the tradition. And that's a lot of time. It's always happened a lot in the mental health field.
And there's also the fear of going to doctors, period. I think I find this more so in communities of color, the non white communities. There's also a fear of going to doctors in the first place because of illegal testing. I'm thinking about like the Tuskegee experiment, being injected with drugs that they don't know about. There's also racial bias in terms of medical treatments. So there's that constant fear about doctors going to doctors in the first place because they feel they may be treated with um, subpar medical treatment because of their race, because of their skin color, or they might be experimented on by the powers that be because of their skin color.
I can totally relate to that because my dad do not go to doctors because he always reads so many things on the news article about all the doctors secretly did experiments on his patient and he didn't know that and the doctor there's so many things that's going on and I everybody has the right to be concerned of going to the doctor because there's a lot more health condition in the color of community. Because it's true, we do have a higher risk of health issues than white community. And it's unfortunate, but I tell a lot of color community to be really conscious what they put in themselves. And also to keep a copy of the record. And I know a lot of people don't keep a copy of the record. My dad probably doesn't even have his record with him, and I'm like, this is probably why you're getting wonder why you're getting sick because they can't keep up with their stuff because you don't have them with you. So I always tell people if you can't keep up with your record, get a family doctor that you can trust. That's my suggestion.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think is there may be that when we are talking about anxiety earlier, there's a constant fear and a constant worry, and I find that more so in um, with people of color. I think more so, the most so with Black people, and I'm sure like um, Latinos, they have their own worries. When it comes to like immigration, for example, or people in the Asian community. Well, the North Asian community, they have their own worries in terms of, um, what's going on now with the coronavirus and the way people are treating them. And then we have the South Asian community, um, with the Indian communities and their constant worry of being discriminated against and because of people, think of like 9/11. Um, so, I think when it comes to people of color, and when I say people of color, I mean non-white, I'm looping them all together. I think there's always some sort of there's always this constant fear and this constant anxiety, and maybe I would say there might be a racial anxiety um, that happens to be in different uh, races and ethnicities because of how they were treated in the past, how they're being treated now, how they were treated compared to their white counterparts. Do you think that's true, that there's a racial anxiety?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I feel like because there's very low of black doctors, Latino doctors, and that could be another part of the reason why they're so afraid to go to the doctors because they can't find their own culture rate doctors that they can rely on, where there's so much more white doctors. So that could be another reason why too.
There's a lot that goes into this, but we do not have the time. So we may have to do a part two of this discussion. So I'm going to start winding this down now. So, do you have any final words of wisdom that you would like to share with our audience?
I just want to say that, do not be afraid of asking for help, even though you think nothing is wrong with you. Mm, You are just the way you are. You are fine just the way you are. You may be different from different people, but does not mean you are different. God made you the way you are, your own unique way. Keep it that way. Do not let anybody tell you different.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kalina. Thank you so much for this discussion. This is very one of the most interesting discussions I've had. So we may have to do this again. All right, so let me put up your banner. So you guys, Kalina is all over social media. She is on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. You could check her personal Facebook page as well as her Facebook group. So definitely check her out on social media and follow her in all of her accounts. And if you would like to learn more about her services or her business, she has a website, KalinaEmpowerment.com. Kalina, do you want to talk about your business briefly?
Sure. So my business, so I am a mental health coach. I focus on positive psychology. So what I mean by that is I focus on your present and look at your goals. So we will focus on what you need to improve on today. I will not be looking at your trauma or anything in your past. Just because I do know that the future is here quicker than you know. So that's what I do. And I have one-on-one coaching. I have one-on-one parent and so with your family. And I have couple counseling. Not counseling, sorry, coaching sessions. And yeah, so that's briefly about my business.
All right, there you go. So if you're looking for some mental health coaching, um, and I assume you just do adults, right? Do you do kids too?
Yeah, I do from young adult to, so young adult would be like 15 years old to adult. Yeah.
Also 15 and up. Okay. All right. So there you go. Well, there you have it, you guys. So she provides services to as young as 15 years old, and she goes all the way up there, you guys. So if you are looking for some mental health coaching, some services, she provides one-on-one coaching. So I encourage you to hit her up, check out her website, find her on social media, and contact her and reach out to her. Her All of her contact information is scrolling below at the bottom of your screen. And for those of you watching this on Facebook, it will also be provided to you in the description. All right, so Kalina, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be back.
Yes, yes, awesome. All right, I'm gonna place you backstage now. And I just want to share this quick thing. I just happened to see this on that same website I told you guys about, mentalhealthgov.com. I just want to share this quickly. So this part here about early warning signs, I just wanted to share this. So not sure if you or someone you know is living with mental health problems. Experiencing one or more of the following feelings or behaviors can be an early warning sign of a problem. Eating or sleeping too much or too little, pulling away from people and usual activities, having low or no energy, feeling numb or like nothing matters, having unexplained aches and pains, feeling helpless or hopeless, smoking, drinking, or using drugs more than usual, feeling unusually confused, forgetful, on edge, angry, upset, worried, or scared, yelling or fighting with family and friends, experiencing severe mood swings that cause problems in relationships, having persistent thoughts and memories you can't get out of your head, hearing voices or believing things that are not true, thinking of harming yourself or others, and inability to perform daily tasks like taking care of your kids or getting to work or school. So I just wanted to share that. So if you have experienced any of those things that I just said, either one or more, I encourage you to seek a mental health professional right away. It's very serious. Mental health is at the same serious level as physical health. So, and there are mental health illnesses. It is a real thing. So, don't look at it as, oh, mental health is not the same as like um as like cancer or something like that. It can be on the same level. A mental health illness can be on the same level as cancer. And then you it can also be connected, the two, because you may have cancer, that's your primary diagnosis. The secondary diagnosis might be depression, right? Because of that. So treat mental health issues as you would a physical health issue, and go see a doctor right away. Uh, Preferably a mental health professional from any mental health issue, but definitely start there from a doctor if that's where you're more comfortable. Okay, that is my PSA. And now let's get to my promo. All right, so you guys, we have reached the conclusion of our episode. Thank you so much for joining us today. So wherever you are watching this episode right now, whatever platform that you are watching this right now, please check out our other episodes. Please check out our other videos, I should say, for, I'm trying to get my thoughts together, sorry. Please check out our social media for more videos and clips, and don't forget to follow us. Follow us, like us, subscribe to us, whatever the button is, press the button. Press that button right now. And let us know what you thought about this episode by leaving a comment in the comment section below or in the comment thread. I would love to hear your thoughts about this episode. And as a reminder, this web series is a production of A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. So if you would like to learn more about our company, the things we have to offer, if you're looking for tutoring for yourself or for your child or for your family member or for a friend, please hit us up. Our contact information is scrolling below right now, but I will say our website is www.astepaheadtutoringservices.com. And I also encourage you to sign up for our email list and our texting list. You will receive exclusive access to our discounts, our promotions, and our special offers and our special events. So I encourage you to sign up for our email list and our texting list. That information is also scrolling below in the scrolling marquee here. And for those of you watching this on Facebook, it is also in the description. And I'm just going to share this final message before we close for the day.
Hey there, have you heard of us? We're a small team of tutors here at A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. We believe that education and information should be accessible to everyone, regardless of income, race, or creed. We're dedicated to making this happen, but we need your help. Please consider making a donation to our company. No amount is too small. Your donation will allow us tutors to remain employed, offer free and low-cost services, put on productions like this web series, and reach out to families nationwide. With your help, we can tackle the academic challenges of our students and the emotional, mental, and behavioral changes that result from these challenges. As a bonus, we can improve our communities in the process. Support us today. Note: we're a for-profit company. We're not a charity. Your donation may not be tax deductible. Please consult a tax professional.
All right, you guys, that's it for our episode. Thank you so much for joining us today and joining me, Gabrielle. And now I am signing off.